All right, it is Sunday slate in the NBL. Two massive matchups, especially the rivalry between Melbourne and Sydney. But before we break it down, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video and let us know what your tips are for Sunday's NBL games in round 10. Now, Sydney v Melbourne, one of the biggest matchups of the year. Jack White versus Xavier Cooks going to be interesting. Who wins that battle with Jack White coming off injury and Xavier Cooks, well, both of them really having an MVP caliber year in NBL 25. Now, this one is going to be all about offense versus defense. Yeah, sounds really straightforward, but it is. Sydney, best defensive team in the NBL. They hold their opposition to the least amount of points of any team, lowest field goal percentage, and lowest three-point percentage. But coming up against Melbourne United, who have averaged 113 points in their past 3 games, and they've got one guy, Chris Goulding, who has been going absolutely off. He scored 86 points in his past 3 games for Melbourne, and that's also not including the 2 monster games he had for Australia in the FIBA break. So this one is going to be an absolute cracker, and it is really how much can Sydney slow down this firing offense of Melbourne. Me personally, I think quite a lot. They're much harder to shoot against. Very, very difficult team. They're going to make things difficult, and they have the coaching skills to be able to make things difficult for Chris Goulding. So huge total in this one at 184.5. I'm moving definitely towards the under in that game because I think it's going to go back to an old school defensive battle, and we'll see a Melbourne United like we did see at the start of the season where they were one of the tightest defensive teams as well. They'll find a way to shut down Chris Goulding a little bit, and they'll keep this one close. The line is also at 6.5 in favour of Melbourne, which is huge. Yes, Sydney did play up in Cairns and weren't that flash hot, but I think they'll be better off with the run in their legs, and they're going to make this one very, very difficult for Melbourne at John Cain Arena. So, game 2, Perth versus New Zealand. Now, 2 teams that had very different first games of round 10. Perth had an absolute monster and were just shooting all over the place against an undermanned Brisbane team. The key for Perth was it really felt like they finally found their rhythm on offense, which is exactly what they wanted to do at the start of the season. Spreading the floor, they had 8 players finish with double digits. So massive, spreading the floor a lot, everybody scoring, and they were shooting at 45% from the 3-point line, which I'm not sure if any other team in the NBL has the caliber to do that. You've got Windler, you've got Pepper, you've got Henschel, and of course you've got Bryce Cotton there as well. So if Perth are hot and they are at RAC Arena, winning their last 5 games, going for 6 consecutive wins at their home ground, they're going to be very tough to beat. New Zealand had a shocker, got pumped by 32 points by Illawarra on Thursday night, and they just looked a little bit out of place when Taco Fall came in and, obviously did a great job on defense, had some quick blocks in there, but the momentum didn't really shift. They need to work out how they're going to play with Taco Fall and utilize him in the best way, and that just may take some time. They've been really, really struggling on offense, New Zealand. They've averaged just 70.66 points in their past 3 games, coming up against a very high-octane Perth Wildcats, going to be tough to keep up with them. So definitely like the Perth Wildcats to win, and 100% that they're going to cover in the -4.5 line there. And this could be another blowout win with Perth being so clinical at RAC Arena. So there are your tips for Sunday's NBL round 10 slate. Now just remember, gamble responsibly and happy punting.